Hi everyone, Petek here. In today's video, I'll be talking about, SFF Spotlight episode 67. I did not expect I would be posting another episode of SFF Spotlight this soon, but apparently I have enough topics for another episode, so I might as well talk about them now. And just a heads up, the next episode of SFF Spotlight might be more than 2 weeks from now due to my events of going to the Worldcon. But anyway, before that, things must continue like always, and it is time to talk about all the news going on in the adult science fiction and fantasy genre, especially on the topics of cover reveals, new book news, special edition Kickstarter campaign, and also new noteworthy release. As usual, I will start from new book news first. The first three news that I will spotlight today can be, they can be covered or maybe simplified as the Jeff Brown topics, because I will be showcasing 3 new books, all of them with the cover art done by Jeff Brown. Now, Jeff Brown has always been one of my favorite artists for years now, and now it seems like he's getting more and more recognition, and I'm really happy, especially after the Malazan and paper reveal and also the Silverblood Promise cover reveal. And speaking of the Silverblood Promise, the first news will be about the sequel to the Silverblood Promise by James Logan. This is the cover reveal to the Blackfire blade, illustrated by Jeff Brown again, and I think it is an absolute stunner of a cover art. It's beautiful, love the purple cover art, and also the matching design and direction is really beautiful, really. I mean, take a look at this. There is this building with the purple flame going up, and this will match the building in the cover art of the Silverblood Promise, and I assume the Broken Binding edition of the Blackfire blade will feature the similar building in the edges. But yeah, I love the Silverblood Promise, and this one, the Blackfire blade, will be released in November 2025. There is also the news from James Logan that this has become a quartet. The Last Legacy series has become a quartet, no longer a trilogy, and I'm ready for it. I love the first book. I hope the second book and beyond will be even better. And then after that, the second cover art. Now you tell me which cover art is better, the Blackfire blade or this one. This is a cover reveal for The Veins of Eternity by Rocco Levitas, the second book in the Age of Storm series. And this is, again, as I said, this is illustrated by Jeff Brown. The entire series, every cover art are illustrated by Jeff Brown, and I must say, the cover art for this series, even though I haven't read the series yet, they contain some of the best cover art that I have ever seen from Jeff Brown. And this is saying a lot because, as I said, I have been a fan of Jeff Brown's artwork for years now, but this is amazing. I don't know anything about this book, I don't know anything about this series, but I certainly look forward to reading it someday. And finally, the last cover reveal with a Jeff Brown cover art and treatment. This is for Of Love and Loss by B.S.H. Garcia. This is the second book in the Heart of Quinaria series, and yeah, this is again another beautiful cover art. I heard plenty of great things about the first book, but unfortunately, due to my very hectic time and reading schedule, I couldn't get around to reading the first book yet, but I will make sure to read it eventually. I cannot make any promises on which review copy I will read as soon as possible because there are just so many, and I'm really grateful because I have so many options to read and review. But yeah, those are the first 3 books with the cover art done by Jeff Brown, and the next one, I still have 2 more books to spotlight before I move on to the topic of Kickstarter campaign. And the next one, this is for Time Mark Warlock by Shami Stovall, the first book in the Chronos Chronicle. Yeah, I think that's the title of this urban fantasy series. And the cover art, speaking of urban fantasy, this is illustrated by Chris McGrath. Chris McGrath has done a lot of great urban fantasy covers, such as for the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher, or maybe for his son as well. And I think Shami Stovall made the right choice in choosing Chris McGrath as the cover artist for her urban fantasy series. And yeah, I look forward to reading this series someday too. But I think, I'm not sure when yet, but I want to read Nightmare Arcanist or Shami Stovall's previous books first before diving into Chronos Chronicle series, even though I know this is a different series compared to any of her other series. But yeah, Shami Stovall has released a lot of books, and I look forward to reading plenty of them anyway. And finally, the last spotlight on the topic of new book news, this will go for a Raven Shadow novella. And yeah, this is Raven Shadow novella by Anthony Ryan, the author behind Bloodsong, Tower Lord, Queen of Fire, and so many other books. And this one, it is titled The Book Burners Fall. And you can actually read this in the anthology called The King Must Fall, published by Grimdark magazine. I have that book. I still haven't read that collection of short stories yet. And this one, it counts as a novella even though it is included in the King Must Fall anthology. But yeah, I have read a lot of Anthony Ryan's books. I think almost all of them. I have read almost all of Anthony Ryan's fantasy books. But I haven't read the book Burners Fall yet. The cover art is done by Zamir Goeke and the design is done by Shawn T. But Bloodsong is one of my top favorite books of all time, and I think the novellas by Anthony Ryan in the Raven Shadow series have all received great receptions, and I really need to get around to reading them. It's been a while since I went back to the world of the Raven Shadow. But that's it on the coverage of new book news. Now let's move on to the section of Kickstarter campaign. I only have a few Kickstarter campaign to spotlight today, and because I just talked about Shawn T, the first one that I want to spotlight is about a new Kickstarter campaign by Wraithmarked Creative. And yes, the design is done by Shawn T. The cover art is done by Daniel Kamarudin, one of Wraithmarked Creative's trademark artists. And this is for The Choice of Magic by Michael G. Manning. This is done in collaboration by Wraithmarked with Podium Audio. The Kickstarter campaign for this one will go live on the 6th of August. So yeah, it is not live yet, but it's about to go live in less than a week from now. And yeah, I love the cover art that by Daniel Kamarudin very much. I think it is a beautiful cover art, and I hope the entire treatment from Wraithmarked Creative will be another incredible one. Well, saying that, I hope is probably not the right word, because I know Wraithmarked, I know they will do justice to this special edition. And I haven't read this series yet, but it has plenty, well, not plenty, but many positive ratings on Amazon. I think this is a progression fantasy series. And moving on to the next and last Kickstarter campaign I'm going to spotlight today. This is for the Blackstone Heart Insanity edition by Michael R. Fletcher. And I have read the Blackstone Heart. I think it is one of the best books by Michael R. Fletcher. I haven't read the rest of the Obsidian Path series yet, but this one, the Insanity edition, it has a cover art done by Peng Lu. Peng Lu is an amazing artist. I have worked with Peng Lu for many artwork in the Sun Eater series, and also some artwork that I cannot mention. Yeah, they are NDA. Hopefully they will be revealed soon. But anyway, I love Peng Lu's artwork. I think his work in the Blackstone Heart Insanity edition is absolutely gorgeous. And yes, this grimdark fantasy novel, it will contain interior illustrations by Andrew Maleski as well. And yeah, it has been fully funded. If you are keen on reading this grimdark fantasy novel and you want a fine edition of it, an incredible edition of this book, then make sure to check out the Kickstarter campaign before it is over. I think it is about to end really soon. I love the Blackstone Heart by Michael Fletcher. If you want to know my full thoughts about it, you can check my full spoiler-free review of the book on my Goodreads or on my blog, Novel Notions. But now, let's move on to the section Special Editions. First of all, Curious King just posted their July production update, and there are, as always, many exciting news, such as this first interior artwork for their edition of Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, illustrated by Vance Kovacs. And yeah, I love Vance Kovacs' oil painting. I think they are beautiful. Vance Kovacs has worked on God of War Ragnarok, and everything that he did for God of War Ragnarok, it was absolutely epic and amazing. I'm not gonna lie, it's amazing. And I think Curious King, as always, has chose the right artist to work on their edition of the first Low World, or in this case, Before They Are Hanged, the sequel to the Blade itself. And yeah, I look forward to getting this edition, I think probably next year. But if you want to know all the production update from Curious King, make sure to check out the link that I attach in the description down below. But it is always an exciting day to hear about what Curious King is doing in the fine press treatment, such as the Curious King edition of Hyperion by Dan Simmons, it seems like it will be shipped in the month of September or October. But yeah, I look forward to seeing whatever Curious Game will do. I think they are the best producer for fine quality books right now, for high-end quality fantasy and sci-fi books. And you know, maybe someday Curious Gang, as I talk about with Anthony, the owner of the Curious Gang, in my interview with him, maybe one day he will do their edition of Malazan Book of the Fallen as well, his edition of Malazan Book of the Fallen as well. But until then, well, moving on to the next topic, we have the edition of the Broken Binding. Yes, the Broken Binding edition of Malazan Book of the Fallen is now live, and the result, the sales, it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think by the time of recording this video, there's only a few stocks left for the first sets of Malazan Book of the Fallen, with the cover art by Felix Ortiz and also board art by Mark Simonetti and paper artwork by Randy Vargas, Jeff Brown, and Rene Eichner. Although my preference honestly would have been to use a Gilded Edges, but I think the 4-edge artwork by Rene Eichner turned out incredible as well. And yes, it will goes across all 10 edges. It will be very difficult to really connect all 10 edges, but we will do our best and pray to the god of printing it will actually work. But yeah, if you haven't owned a copy of Malazan Book of the Fallen, and yeah, they are signed by Steven Erikson, and you want a hardcover treatment, well, this is it probably. I don't think we are getting any relatively affordable hardcover edition of Malazan Book of the Fallen anytime soon. So yeah, £50 is still a lot of money for one hardcover, not gonna lie, but this one contains acid-free paper, and again, it is Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson, one of the best epic fantasy series of all time. The Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson, the Broken Binding edition, is really the Broken Binding's, I think, biggest project so far, and the second biggest project from them is probably the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio. And yeah, the cover art for this one has been revealed. The cover art and also the reversible cover art. The cover art is done by Rene Eichner as well, and the reversible cover art is done by Peng Lu. Now, the reception toward this one, especially toward the reversible cover art, has been incredibly positive, and I'm happy to hear that, because if I have to choose, and I know I must not choose favorites here, but I think I will use the reversible cover art as well. I love bas relief art. Full disclosure, the art direction for the cover art of this edition, almost all of them are handled by Christopher Ruocchio, and all praises should go to him. I think he did an incredible job, especially on the bas relief idea. It was just incredible. When he mentioned that idea, it really clicked in my opinion, and I know that I most likely, depending on the result of the printing, I most likely will use the reversible cover art as well. I cannot wait for all of you to see the remaining bas relief art, but I think the cover art of the second book by Rene Eichner probably will amaze some of you, in my opinion anyway, because I think that is an absolutely stunning cover art for a sci-fi book. It fits the genre really well, and it will be revealed on Friday. I hope many of you will like it. But yeah, same case with Malazan Book of the Fallen. If you want to get early access to this edition of the Sun Eater, the first set, make sure to fill in your interest in the interest form that I will attach in the description down below. And speaking of Rene Eichner, he has been busy. He is one of the main artists that work on a lot of projects for the Broken Binding, and the next two artwork and also projects that I will showcase, they features artwork by Rene Eichner again. The first one is for Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill. This is probably one of the best artwork from Rene Eichner so far, and I will not tell any spoiler about this scene, but this is about the Knights of Acheron. And yeah, some of you might have noticed that this looks a bit similar to the fall artwork that Rene Eichner did, but it is meant to be that way. It is meant to be a homage to that piece, but in a different art composition. And yeah, this looks amazing in my opinion. I really love the result, and there will be more artwork for Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill. There are a lot of things in motion right now, but until then, moving on to the next special edition to Spotlight. This is for The Way of Eden by Philip Chase. The first interior illustrations for this edition, the Broken Binding press edition of The Way of Eden, has been revealed, and yeah, it is illustrated by Rene Eigner again. Rene Eigner is in charge of illustrating the fully colored interior art for the Way of Eden, for the cover art, and also for the black and white artwork. They remain to be revealed. Hopefully we can reveal that really soon, because I'm working on this with Philip Chase as well. As some of you might know already from Philip Chase's channel, but this is the first interior illustrations, and this is what Philip Chase really wants, because this is an important scene that happens in the early part of the book, The Way of Eden, but it is very, very important scene because it basically, well, direct the rest of the main character, Dayraven's life. And yeah, I think it is a beautiful scene, and I hope Philip Chase will reveal the second interior art soon, really soon. And now moving on to the last special edition to spotlight in today's episode. This is for The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch, the Golan's Emporium edition. So it will match the previous two Golan's Emporium edition of The Lights of Loklamora and also Red Seas Under Red Skies. And yeah, they are all illustrated by Edward Bettinson. I think this edition, just like the previous two books, are limited to less than 1,000 copies, and they are all signed by Scott Lynch as well, with new end papers and also a new design being given to the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. But that's it on the coverage of special edition. Moving on to the next topic and also section. Well, I have only one noteworthy release I want to spotlight, and this will be released probably tomorrow or on the 2nd of August, and this is for A Dirge of Cassius Part 1 by Calum Lott. And yeah, this is a science fantasy, and the author has pitched this as Hyperion meets True Detective. I love the cover art done by John Devlin, but I think the premise of the book sounds really good. I own the advanced reading copy of this one, but I still haven't read this book yet. But lately, I've been really interested and immersed in reading more science fantasy thanks to the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio. So I will make sure to read this book most likely within this year. And this is the first book in a duology. And hopefully the second and the last book in the duology will come out next year. And now we move on to the final section of today's episode. It is time to talk briefly about TV show adaptations. And for the first two, they are about Silo and also Rings of Power. I have watched the first season of Silo and also Rings of Power. Of course, I like Silo more, even though they are both very different kind of story and they are both in a different kind of genre. But I like Silo more than Rings of Power. I think Rings of Power contain very high production value, production and budget, but it contains no substance in my opinion. There are so many disappointing aspects of the Rings of Power. And Silo, as far as I know, it tries to stay very true to the text and materials from Hugh Howey himself. And I enjoyed Silo. I wouldn't say it's one of the best shows that I have ever watched, but I think it is a good show. And I will certainly watch season 2 of Silo, which is scheduled to be released on November 2024. So yeah, that's within this year. Same for Rings of Power within this year as well. Let me know which one are you more excited about. And finally, the last topic of today's episode, this is for an animation, and this is for an animation of Cradle by Will Wight. And yeah, Unsold, the first book in Cradle series. If some of you remember, there was a Kickstarter campaign for this project, this big project by Will Wight. And yeah, we have finally started to see some of the results here. The first trailer for Cradle animation is out now, and it's better than I expected. Even though the art style is not very suitable to my taste, because I love anime style more, this one is more suitable. It's more similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender in my opinion, but it is better than I expected. And not gonna lie, I felt a bit nostalgic about Cradle, even though I just finished reading the series relatively early. But I will let you decide on your own about your thoughts on the animation of Cradle if you have read this amazing progression fantasy series. And yeah, that's really it for today's episode of SFF Spotlight. Like always, do let me know what you think about the news that I spotlighted today. And yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the next episode of SFF Spotlight will probably be released on the 3rd week of August. So it will be a while before we get a new episode. And I think that episode of SFF Spotlight will be a long one. But yeah, anyway, as I always say, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.